Sorry to break the ambience, but they are not the same series. Xenogears is from Square, Xenosaga is from Bandai, when it's actually by Namco, and Xenoblade Chronicles is from Nintendo. Wake up, guys! Monosoft was bought by Nintendo in 2007. Stop messing the Nintendo IP. A couple of you guys are not convinced that the Xeno games are related, quoting things such as, if all Xeno games are part of the same series because Tetsuya Takahashi made them, then all Mario, Zelda and Pikmin games are related because they're all made by Shigeru Miyamoto. And while I agree the Xeno series is not like a normal video game series, with most of the game attributes not being consistent from game to game, even if those games are in the same trilogy, if you need one thing to show these games are all connected to the greater Xeno series, you don't need to go deep into the lore and point out how the Conduit in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 looks identical to the Zohar from the Xenosaga trilogy, and deduce that the reason Earth disappeared in Xenosaga was because it was destroyed and recreated in Xenoblade Chronicles. No, all you really need to talk about is this guy, Van Damme. Or is he called Van Gray? Or is it Van Der Kam? Meet the Xeno series' most reoccurring character. Van Der Kam makes his first appearance right back at the beginning, in Xenogears, and would appear in every single main series game with the exception of Xenosaga Episode 3. We first meet him in the game as a commander of the Ava military, under the evil Prime Minister Shao Kahn. He has a giant plus sign on his head and is frequently ostracized for relying too much on big guns and brute force tactics. As a result, he is stationed in the Northern Border Fleet, where he encounters Xenogears protagonist Fei Wong, who fights him on his battleship, the Kerfeinzel, in which he loses the fight, as well as his ship. In a last-ditch effort to take Fei out, he uses the geared Doro, which, despite its silly name, turns out to be a beast of a boss fight, in which he eventually pushes Fei to the point where he loses it, and in a fit of rage obliterates the Doro, and presumably Van Der Kam with it. Van Der Kam would appear again, this time in Xenosaga Episode 1, as an undercover operative for the UTIC organisation, with an X on his head instead of a plus. He attempts to help the Commander Sharenkov with stealing the Zohar emulator of the Federation, but is forced to flee when the Gnosis show up, leaving Sharenkov to attempt to save the emulator by himself. He then makes another appearance in Episode 2, in voice only this time, as the command operator of another battleship, in the same vein as Xenogears, where he is promptly defeated after a technical issue with the gun. After this fight, it is unknown what happens to him as he does not appear at all in the later of the game. Van Der Kam also would never appear in Xenosaga Episode 3. Xenoblade Chronicles brought new light to the character, moving him away from a villain. Now named Van Gare, or Van Damme in Japanese, we see him in the first Xenoblade Chronicles as the furious drill sergeant of Colony 9. No longer supporting the mathematical symbol on his face, he plays a minor role in the early acts of the game, mainly comic relief, before being almost killed by the mech on Metalface. He then appears during the second battle of Sword Valley, leaving the Homs forces against the Mechon, before almost being killed again when he is thrown off the sword. He then appears one last time during the epilogue, arguing with his subordinates. Van Gare would continue to get more relevant in the Xeno series with the release of Xenoblade Chronicles X, where he takes the role as the commanding officer of the Blade operations. Now supporting his Japanese name of Van Damme, he plays a major role in the story of the game, being the client for every main story mission you do. Now with a major role in the story of the game, Van Damme had only one position left he hadn't achieved, and that was being a playable character, which thanks to Xenoblade Chronicles 2, he achieved. In this game, he takes the role as an Orion mercenary who lives to help those doing it tough, and joins forces with protagonist Rex to help him get out of the Orion Titan and get to Elysium, after Rex helps him out investigating disturbances on the Titan. He travels with a bird-like blade called Rock, whose weapon is a pair of scythes. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 also brought back the iconic cross to his face, this time in the form of what looks like battle scars. In every game he has appeared, Van Damme has always been a commander of some sort, with very loud and commanding personality. While originally starting as a small minor villain in the early games, Van Damme has grown into a reoccurring series Easter egg, and you can bet he will appear in the next game in the series. Perhaps with a slightly different name, but you can betcha he'll be there to motivate the troops with his loud voice and high charisma.